Hello and welcome to the Ergo AMA. How you doing, Krishti? Good morning.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm good. Drinking some tea with a cookie. So, actually, a lot of things to talk about. So maybe let's start with you, and
Oh, with
then
me? Oh, yeah,
I will take a lot of time. So yeah, let's start with smaller
no
bits.
problem. So, what do we do? Let's see. On a personal front, I've successfully deployed our blockchain to one of our main systems here at Cornell. So I think I've talked about it before. We have a fairly large system that I built that allows students to submit files for large format printing. And we do about, it's been going around for about 4 or 5 years now. We have about 65,000 rows in the database. So that's a lot of 60-inch by 42-inch large format plots that go through the system. So the idea would be, in the past, there used to be the ability for the students to pay in cash, but that got taken away when Cornell went to a new system. And so that's when we branched off on our own and built our own system. And so right now they're only allowed to be billed through the Bursar. They're only available for that. So the idea was to give them a different avenue of billing methods, because you have a lot of professional students that come in that are like, I don't want to use a Bursar system. As well as create some sort of I'm saying system, that's a double thing. Some sort of ability for people to develop some sort of local economy, right? So last week I minted the brick token. We had a discussion about it around the IT table here about what would be the best name to name this token for an architecture, city and regional planning, and art department combined. And the idea, I guess, was brick. It's a building block for everything there. So we called them brick, and it's a Cornell brick, and that's going to be our Let's token, essentially. So the idea is that I tried to think of a way that would possibly allow students to interact with the blockchain with the least barrier of entry. And what better way to do that than Louis Vatra's Tipperbot, right? Because we're already running a huge Discord where most of our students are already in it, and it's how they communicate with IT, it's how they communicate with the desk when they're using our systems and that kind of thing. So what I did over the last couple of days and a little bit last week is I integrated not wallet integration on the front end portal where you submit your large format prints. You can click a button that says blockchain payment, and it then automatically pings you in Discord, our Discord server, and it says, "Hey, Kushti, it looks like you sent out plot 5728. It's 32 inches by 48 inches. It's $7.80 in US dollars. If you need to pay this much," and it lists, it has a code copy block for all the tipper code for ergs. So it'd be like 2 or 320 ergs. And then underneath that, there's another code block that says if you want to play in brick, it's going to be, we're rounding down for brick payments, so it's cheaper. So it'd be 7 brick. So you just hit the copy block, you paste, you enter. And in the backend system, my system is watching the wallet. And when it sees that exact payment, then it releases your print to our backend portal where then it can be printed in the large format print. So the idea was let's get these kids involved in try to drum up their own economy. There's so many tools that are passed around between the semester. There's so many books and other things. Why not create some sort of system of value where these kids can have something that's valuable to them? A lot of these guys are spending $200-300 a semester on plots, and that's quite a bit for a student. So if there's this kind of incentive to utilize this token that can help them out in the future for selling their old tools or handing off their stuff to freshmen, then we're hoping to hit that, and that'll eventually trickle into the DAO as well and work from there. So that's one thing. The other thing, if you guys are watching Mu Finance, you'll notice that we are we sold 4 Mac Pros on Mu Finance the other day. These are I think they're 2013 through 2019, those trash can Mac Pros, they're little round circles kind of thing. We put them up for 65 ergs on Mu Finance, and one day before that sold pretty quick, and then three the next day, and those sold really, really fast enough to where people had to resubmit their transactions because they were competing with other people. So that was a lot of fun to see that. That money will go right into the Cornell DAO treasury to help fund airdropping brick to student wallets and tipping to student wallets and that kind of thing as well. So that's another cool thing that we're doing. We may have some other stuff up in there as we clear out our IT closet of old stuff. We have a stack of like Mac Minis that are i5s and i7s that maybe we'll put up. There's an iMac back there too, that kind of thing. So we'll see how that goes. But that's a lot of fun to use something like Mu Finance, the physical side of the store, to sell actual goods, just like eBay. It's super, super neat. What else? In the community, we have we got our multi-sig transaction from the old multi-sig for the Sigmanauts to the new multi-sig for the Sigmanauts. That took a while, but it showed up. That was great. So we have all our ergs in the new multi-sig. We're working on getting the community tokens from the old multi-sig to the new one. As most of you know, we're on the new Padilla as well. So eventually those funds will hopefully go into Padilla where we can fully manage them there. Let's see. I'll think of it as I'm talking, Kishti, but why don't you jump in too? What's new for you?
All right. So yeah, in the first place, I promised to talk about quantum resistance.
Quantum resistance, yeah.
Yeah. So that's quite popular topic these days.
Right. So I've heard. So with the hype with the Google, was it Google's machine, right? The solution it's solving looks very impressive, but it's essentially a useless solution, right? A problem to solve, and these qubit machines are quite a bit far away from where we think of, full blockchain breaking encryption.
Yeah. So still we are decades away from quantum computers capable to break cryptography, right? Modern cryptography. At least, right? So there are very different opinions here, actually. There are opinions even that it's not possible, right, to build such quantum computers. And I'm talking about folks working in the space, right? So not just amateurs, right? Cryptographers even, right? So, folks actually working in quantum hardware engineering. So yeah, there are very different opinions, right? And so it's not quite clear when we will see such quantum computers, but at least decades away it seems. But it's important to address those issues anyway, right? Because we are kind of building a cathedral here, right? So we are trying to build something which will last for generations to come, right? Because otherwise it's not that interesting, right? I mean, to build just something for one day. And so, then what do we have? So here we have in Ergo proof of work consensus, right, which is secure against quantum computers because, it's based on hash functions. And it's secure, unlike most of proof of stake consensus algorithms, right, which are relying on signature schemes. And some other primitives based on problems which are hard for modern computers but not for quantum computers. Right, then it's possible to update proof of stake algorithms and so on to post-quantum options, but it's not efficient, right? So I mean, proof of work is already the most efficient consensus algorithm, right? So every miner is working on its own, right? So when you are mining using Sigmanauts mining pool, right, or doing solo mining. So you are not talking with other miners, right? So you are just doing your work asynchronously. So you just need to know tip of the blockchain, and that's it. So that's the only shared medium. So you are not exchanging messages like in BFT algorithms and so on. And yeah, so proof of work is not just the most efficient consensus algorithm, right? But it's also, well, post-quantum already, because, yeah, hash functions are secure in the presence of quantum computers. I mean, all the hard problems in hash functions. Then, yeah, we have digital signatures right here in Ergo, and also we have Sigma protocols. And here we don't have quantum resistance, right? So, like for every blockchain, there is no quantum resistance. There is need to consider alternatives, right? But the issue is that there are not so many standardized post-quantum schemes to start with, right? And all of them are inefficient. So we will lose like 10x to 100x in TPS immediately, right? By switching to post-quantum cryptography. But still, we need to consider alternatives, right? So there are some post-quantum Sigma protocols, even lattice-based, but yeah, it's hard to predict when they will be standardized. Then we have what? We have post-quantum signatures, but yeah, just few options, right? And yeah, they're inefficient. Yeah, it's time to consider alternatives, right? But slowly, and yeah, well, watching the space, and yeah, also considering well the possible options for upgrade, right? So. I don't know. Maybe it could be a sidechain, right? Kind of Exodus sidechain, or maybe other options. Maybe starting from some version of the protocol. Yeah, we may, for example, allow for, but we need to consider some options.
So about the sidechain idea, Kushti. So I mean that sounds great for like slow development of it and testing, you know, before we hit that mark where perhaps quantum computing can crack cryptography. But doesn't that mean that? I mean, I think of that as more of an insurance chain in the meantime, right? So if you're worried about the Ergo security or any other chain breaking down, and you have the side chain, perhaps you move most of your stored value over to that quantum resistant side chain. But doesn't that mean as soon as something's broken, then the value of the original chain is toast? So essentially, the side chain becomes the only real store of value at that point, and anything that was on the old chain is toast.
Not necessary. I mean, for original blockchain, right? So you can have some post-quantum contracts as well. So for example, signatureless contracts like DEX contracts and so on. So that they would be secure, right? As secure as consensus. So it means post-quantum also. It means yeah, spectrum and so on. Already quantum resistant, right? Because they are not relying on signatures. Unlike actually most of DEXs, right, on other chains which do have admin keys and so on, so those admin keys are not quantum resistant for starters.
What if you utilize the quantum resistant sidechain to roll up and provide verifications to smart contracts on the current Ergo chain? So a smart contract couldn't execute unless it got a verification from something on the quantum resistant sidechain. So your store of value still sits on the main Ergo layer 1, but it's waiting for some sort of confirmation or proofs from the quantum sidechain before it can fully act. So even if something was cracked on the Ergo chain, it couldn't act until the proof was sent over from the quantum side. So no real store of value on the quantum side, just for signatures in computing or security. Is that something that's possible?
Yeah, so we also may develop some post-quantum wallet contracts, right? There are actually some works in this direction, but yeah, usually they rely on some exotic cryptographic schemes such as witness encryption. So there is a paper from our friend Dionysia on some lightweight post-quantum wallet contract, but yeah, it relies on witness encryption, so kind of cryptography which is not around yet, basically, which is very exotic yet. But yeah, in future, I believe there could be such options. We might have post-quantum contracts like hash-based signatures, maybe done in contracts, or there are some roll-up options, right? Like Stark, so they are quantum resistant. Starks, they're not efficient, not very efficient, but yeah, quantum resistant. So well, you can use, for example, Stark-based rollup, right? Quantum resistant rollup.
What about, and this may be a stupid question, but what about the basic sides of this? So why not develop a qubit machine to mine the hell out of Autolycos 2 and steal the hash rate? Get 99% of the hash rate. Is that something that we're worried about at all? If in the future those quantum machines can be honed to deliver that kind of power?
So sorry, what exact attack?
Well, let's say you're right, because quantum machines, from what my understanding, they don't need the CPU can be used with both for both memory and for processing or something like that. The bits can be an on, off, and a substate essentially, so it makes it super efficient there. The question was, what are the possibilities of quantum machines being honed or developed to instead of breaking cryptography, do some crazy hash rate, like go against ASICs miners and replace those, or be honed towards Autolycos 2 and just take over the hash. Like, you don't need to break cryptography if you can build a machine that can just immediately rape the hash rate of any chain.
Yeah, so if we are talking about Ergo proof of work, right? So it's based on some problem, and it's it's quantum resistant, right? To the best of modern knowledge. So it's still a hard problem for quantum computers, and then yeah, it's also based on a hash function, but yeah, it's also hard for quantum computers, right? So yeah, you cannot find a collision and so on. So I mean, there is some speed up, but it's not significant, right? Still, and yeah, so for some problem, well, I've checked recently actually, and yeah, so there is some speed up, but yeah, it's not
negligible.
So yeah, it's still about exponential time, right? Just with a bit better coefficient. So yeah, I mean, proof of work is secure, right? So then the only issue is about signatures, but there are many options right here to consider. And, there is no rush, so yeah. Well, then we could be quite optimistic, I guess. Still, about all those things. But yeah, there is needs to slowly consider alternatives, right, and discuss them. And but there is no any rush, right, talking about implementation. So still, we have many years to come.
Yeah, I think every 5 years, Kushti, there's some announcement about some huge breakthrough in quantum computing, and it still has been mediocre announcements, way hyped up for what it actually is or does. So this is
so usually, every breakthrough is about adding like 5 qubits, and we need for thousands here, right? Still, this Google's new chip, so it's still very very tiny, right, in its capabilities. And it's not quite clear even if it's possible to build systems over a certain number of qubits because of some issues with quantum physics. But yeah, it's better to but better to talk with guys proficient in all that stuff.
What else is new, Kushti? What you been working on?
Then I recorded also talk for this art event upcoming Modena art event, which will show in particular, which will be ergo-centric, right, to some degree. And then it will be about using ergo tooling, right, for different things. So artists will get to use ergo tooling, right, for their needs. And I recorded a talk, so it will be released after 21st on property rights in the age of programmable money, right? So the talk is connecting different dots with within the space, right, starting from Tornado Cash, Curve Decision, right, very recent one, to programmable money, and then to tokenization of real world assets, of art, and so on. Sorry. So there is a forum post, right, made recently on that money ownership in the age of programmable money. This talk for artists, so it's about property rights, and for art objects, some thoughts about art objects specifically, right, the tokenization and so on. And then it's also about how ergo tooling, right, could be useful for doing different experiments and so on.
So with art property rights, at least, are we talking about like with a physical art piece, right? Something on-chain verifying minted by the artist. You can trace it back to the artist and see that the new owner of it has the actual certification or that traces back to the original minting wallet of the artist, verifying ownership and that kind of thing. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, so it could be physical, right? It could be digital. So we can have NFT rights, and that NFT could belong to you, for example. But yeah, it could be minted by contract, right? Or its transfership could be defined by contract and so on. If we are talking about physical art, then yeah, it's also can be tokenized with NFT or with multiple tokens, right? And then yeah, for the latter option, you may have very different options, like 20% of picture can belong to its author, right, a painter, and then 80%, for example, can be sent to auction coin contract, right, to create auctions periodically, like one token a week, 1% a week, for example.
You could also bundle it in chain cash too, a note, right?
Yeah, so you can actually airdrop to miners, or whatever, right? So you may have digitized art being distributed to Sigmanauts and so on. I think there could be a lot of very unique things here, right? When we are talking about, well, work of artists combined with work of hardware, for example, right? So you may have for example, painter doing picture first, right, and then yeah, well, miners doing the work to get right shares of it. So that's kind of art and hardware work, right, combined and so on. And yeah, I mean, so such events already. Per se, I mean, like art events, right, could be considered like that, like performance, maybe art performance, right, where you have mining along with work of humans done all together and combined via on-chain contracts and so on. So there are very different options here. And yeah, so that's maybe a small piece, but I think it's very important, right, to well work through this piece, and yeah, then jump on other chapters talking about real world adoption. Okay.
Krishna, you met with some developers. Was it last week? One of our Sigmanaut pool miners as well was there. What was that chat about?
Yeah, so that was a local developers meetup. So there was a talk about I don't know, the 2024, right? So, and I was kind of blockchain expert, right? So, well, did my best to explain what happened in the space to general public. Yeah, sorry, I need to find a plug.
Oh, no worries. So one of the guys there was Netim, who's an avid miner in our pool. And speaking of the Sigmanauts pool, before I forget, I believe Mark is now fully pushing the bonus tokens, and I think a storage rent payment went out as well. They decided to do storage payments, rent payments based on the block that they were found in. Since the pool is already doing PPLNS based on that block, all you have to do is find the ratio of payment for that specific block and then distribute the storage rent based on that. And it works out perfectly well. Super easy to do that. But it's neat. I think the week before last, we got some bomber storage rent payments. I think we got a couple ERG in one payment, almost an ERG in several more. So we're doing pretty well in the storage rent payments.
But why? So have you collected some big boxes, maybe?
Yeah, we got some. It must have been some big boxes. Exactly. Yep.
All right. So yeah, I've checked recently, and yeah, it seems now collection going on for some initial tests of Oracle pools. So yeah, there could be some big boxes there.
Yep. We've gotten some funky tokens that we have no idea what they are, and some no-name tokens, and then some Oracle test tokens as well that we scoop
Yeah.
up. It's fun to see. It's fun to see the history. It's like you're a archaeologist and you're kind of just digging up the chain and seeing what pops up.
Yeah, so you are basically digging dinosaur bones, right?
Yeah, that's really cool. Really cool.
Blockchain dinosaurs. And actually, so you can put such tokens on auctions, right?
Yep, exactly. I think Canon put out a vote on the SIGs mining thing for the PHP token that they found, and I believe he's gonna do something with that, airdrop it or some sort of thing, or put it out as bonus. But that vote was up in the Sigmanauts mining pool DAO. Super neat, yeah.
All right. So, anything else to discuss? So,
Oh well, we have I don't know if I mentioned this before, maybe I did, but Cyberverse was in the top of the polling. So they won their poll over at Ronin. And if people didn't notice, there's now a wallet connector for Ronin on the login screen of Cyberverse. So there's Ronin, Ergo, and Cardano. And they just made it so that most or all of the goods, like the skins or the crate boxes, you buy with CYPX now, no matter what chain you're coming in on. So I bought a Cardano skin with CYPX that's only on Ergo, and it went to my Cardano wallet, even though I paid for it in Ergo CYPX. So it's really cool. So it incentivized coming to Ergo, getting CYPX, and then spending it in game to have your NFT go to whatever token, whatever wallet your chain of origin is. So it's if it's on that chain, they're minting Ronin NFTs. Did you see the Kushti NFT in the Ronin suit? That I think it's like a Ronin suit that I posted in chat yesterday.
Yeah, I have no any idea what Ronin is even. So what's that?
Ronin is like a gaming chain. Essentially, it's gamer focused for that.
I see.
So yeah, so they were branching out to that.
Is it some roll up layer 2 or what?
I imagine. I imagine. I don't know. I pay a little bit of attention to that kind of thing, but yeah. So that's great to see CYPX branching out there. And yes, Maverick, I did mint a Bober emote crate. I got the crying Bober, or else the Bober with the tears coming out. Yeah, the laughing Bober. I'm not sure which one that is. I already mentioned new finance, which is great. And yeah, should we hit a few questions?
Yeah, so also some Twitter Spaces coming from UTXO Alliance. Details will be shared soon. So it's with UTXO Alliance members. Some Twitter Spaces joined one. Then yeah, so probably after New Year we'll do new videos. And yeah, I think we'll visit Consensus conference in Hong Kong also. But yeah, let's see. Then yeah, so we are actually thinking about doing maybe some meetups and so on in
Hong Kong?
Southeast Asia. Hong Kong, then yeah, we'll check possibilities. So maybe Thailand, Vietnam, something like that. But yeah, let's see. So there is a lot of development, so it's a bit travel, and yeah, well, for our development, so just we're finished reworking versioning in 6.0, so there will be a new release candidate this week, hopefully. Yeah, already quite close to the release. So yeah, well, after some testing, so it will be under testing for like a few days, and then yeah, we will be released maybe around Saturday, right? So if I will start testing today, then yeah, well, 5.0 release is coming as now it's approved. And yeah, so 5 or 15 Sigma interpreter release next week probably. So yeah, a lot of things are going on development wise, and yeah, well, starting from I don't know, maybe next week even. So we can have regular discussions on sublogs, right? Because I'm back on this, and yeah, I'm doing already some stuff, and yeah, we can start this. Actually, a lot of things to get done there, right? For sure. So yeah, well, contributors are welcomed. Well, for like from formalizing security, writing tests, updating exploits, and so on. Work so on. Then for Ledger, well, there are final conversations about audit, so it should be started. Oh, I don't know, but yes, so not sure about next week because it's Christmas, right? But yeah, well, let's see. But final talks already going with third party company authorized by Ledger. Then, yeah, well, there are a lot of developments, checkers charts, Silver Oracle's pull request finally done, and so on. Yeah, well, please check developers chats. Yeah, a lot of things there, like interesting updates from Nautilus, right? Then Silver Oracles. What else? Finally,
Yeah, Nautilus
there
is
is
going mobile. That's great.
Finally, yeah, there is progress with Keystone. Was deterministic signature support done. Yes, so there is no issue with randomness anymore for the limited hardware. Then what else? What else? Yeah, well, a lot of updates as usual, right? And yeah, so for community discussion, do you have any plan like Twitter Space community calls?
Well, you know,
anything?
CKB wanted to do another chat, so we could do one of those as well with them, and that would be good timing because Rosenbridge.
We will have you take so live.
Oh, with them?
Yeah.
I mean,
you take so line. It would be with CK, then yeah, Digite, then Alephum, and yeah, other members of UTEX Alliance.
Oh, perfect, great, okay, yeah, I'm up for a community chat in the start of the new year, right? Let's do it. Let's do it let's do it after the new year at some point, maybe mid-January. That was fun. Either a Zoom or I prefer the Zoom to the Spaces, but yeah, either one.
Yeah. We can also communicate about well, as usual, road to adoption, value proposition, the Ergo book, so I can open source the current drafts, right, which is mostly about structure still, but yeah, I'm slowly.
Have you found a couple people? I see you've invited a few people to write for you for the book already. You invited Louis Libre to talk about Demirage.
Yeah, Joe or Luis, Grayman, yeah, so we have already a few folks willing to talk. So, well, Joe will put manifests there, right? So, grassroots manifests, the new one. And yeah, so some other writing. So, yeah, we can reuse some old writing. And then there is need to combine all writings and yeah, polish them. All right. So let's jump on questions.
All right, let's see what we have. Well, some more things about property rights from Luke Graysmith. He says, Kushti, most important property right is to our own identity, but now that is just about protecting a seed phrase. Please comment on how to make this soul bound.
Yeah, but it's like very problem from a 90s, right? So it's not even issue, right? So in the digital world, so what do you have is well numbers, right? Well, you may have secret number, secret key, some very big number, right? And yeah, well, when you use seed, so actually you are using big number in contact with this seed, right? So your secret key from your seed. And then, yeah, so that's what you do have in the digital world. And then is the whole big issue how to connect ideas in the real world, right, with those numbers in the digital world. So that's public key infrastructure, right? So, well, in addition to secret, so you have some public image of a public key, right? And then you may declare the public key is yours, but then that's how to verify that, right? Especially if we are talking about centralized settings. So that's actually how the cypherpunk actually appeared, right? So initially it was about different attempts to develop infrastructure for public keys, right? Decentralized infrastructure. Also some trust and so on. So there are just like Web of Trust, right? And it's also as well as many other. So, well, the initial setting was to do some key exchange rights, then exchange email. So, for example, there is some person you have to exchange emails with, right? And then, yeah, so you in using public key, right? Electric ink, but the problem is how can you be sure that some published on the web sample is authentic, right? So, well, it could be fake website or whatever. Then you end up with sending email, right, to some fake person, possibly revealing some secret sensitive data. And then, yeah, there are a lot of attempts to overcome this, well, by using trusted parties, like you're using certificates on the internet, right, with trusted issuers. There is somewhat federated approach, web of trust, right, when you are you trust Joe, right, which is authorized my key, for example, right? So first Joe needs to meet me, gets well, some certification of my public key, and then yeah, tell you that this public key is trusted by Joe, and then you trust Joe, right? And you are using my public key because of that, and so on. But yeah, well, you know, if after 30 years it's the same issue, basically, that means the issue is hard, right? And well, it will remain hard, I believe, because brightest minds, well, in cryptography, practical cryptography, and not only, well, are working on that for like 30 years to the moment. And still, well, the progress is very limited. And yeah, well, blockchain, well, in in some settings may help, right? But still, the problem remains. Sorry. All right.
All right, let's see. We've got Cannons wanted to mention Cyberverse and duck pools, and I forgot to mention duck pools. He says they're two different projects. Both are attractive to outside chains if marketed and supported by the ecosystem. So yeah, guys, duck pools is I think their sale is almost up, or a couple more days for their round. Duck pools is, as many know, or many not know, watching this, a pool lending protocol. So, for example, the SIGs had about 2,500 SIG USD that we were paying to Rare Evo, earmarked for that. So we put it in duck pools while we waited, and into the SIG USD lending pool. And when we pulled it out, it was $3,000. So the thought is, these protocols exist if you have SIG USD, if that's your thing, if that's your jam, to mitigate risk by having some of your portfolio in that, then why not put it in a lending program like duck pools and make some yield off it while it just sits there for other people that want to take a bigger risk by maybe shorting or longing Erg at that point. So yeah, duck pools is great. Check out their IDO. It's essentially you get a staking token, and the quacks are airdropped to you every month or every week or something like that, depending on how much you bought in that percentage. So super cool. They have their own DAO built in, completely separate of Padilla. Crass built that. So yeah, check that out. Let's see what else we have here. We have Wombo says, QX, any worries on creating brick? Is there any possibility of problems in trying to create a currency for the school? Cornell already has something called Big Red Bucks, which is actually digitized, right? It's on the Cornell student cards, so they can get paid in it, I think, for some of the work they do, and then they can spend it at different places on campus. So they already have a system of value like that. I don't see how this is any different. We're not putting it on a DEX, so we're not putting any monetary value on it as far as physical real things. Now, that being said, I'm sure, smart, savvy kids might, try to sell it on the DEX or create a liquidity pool. It's doubtful, but it's possible. Yeah, no, I'm not worried about that, Wombo. All right. Our guest is Kent says, do we have any way of measuring awareness or engagement with Rosen Bridge among users of other chains, i.e. Cardano? Does anyone outside of the Ergo community know about it? I would say that, from my experience at Rare Evo, Rosen Bridge is a very well-known name throughout Cardano, at least. I can't speak to Ethereum, Bitcoin, or CKB, where they may go next. But yes, I'd say it's very well known. They'd come to us and they'd see Ergo, and then they'd see Rosen Bridge over in the corner, and they'd be like, "Oh, you guys are with Rosen Bridge, or you guys are with," and we're like, "Oh no, we're Sigmanauts with Ergo. Rosen Bridge is on Ergo," and that kind of thing. So yeah, I'd say in Cardano it's well known. I think they're doing a great job of slow burning their marketing system through proof of work. Exactly, proof of work. They're showing a system that works well and is trusted. And I think that's working well for them to spread across as they go from ecosystem to ecosystem. Kushti, to people you talked to, the dev people you talked to last week, the local dev meetup, they're familiar with Rosen?
They're not very familiar with blockchains even, right?
Wow.
But yeah, well, I even didn't talk much. Well, the panel with well 2024 in blockchain insights and so on, right? So well, after had to talk with developers in a coffee shop nearby, and well, mostly I presented just the idea of programmable money, right? And because yeah, for developers it's even more understandable, right? Like where do you inject program, what's execution context and so on. And so yeah, got some folks excited, so I'll give more talks just on that. So the idea of programmable money. And well, yeah, there are folks now well interested in work that's so contributing, but well, I need to provide more details. Right. Because for developers interested in compilers, right, interpreters, and so on, well, the idea to make well program money, right? Well, it's quite appealing. It's more understandable than smart contracts, engineering wise, as well. Smart contracts. Yeah. So that concept wasn't made by engineers back then, back in 2004. All the engineers skeptical, right, about all that stuff. So it was predictable back then that's decentralized computer, better to say, fully replicated programmable calculator would be over busy, right? Even with some trivial load like we have Ethereum blockchain. So well, the real talks about that back in 2014. Right, but here, well, idea do sound well. That they do sense to engineers, at least.
All right, let's see. We're getting near time. We have a question from Wombo for you, Kushti. Can you speak about umbrella tokens and explain the pattern a bit? How you plan to use on-chain cash?
So, yeah, well, it's say whether it will be used, right? But the basic idea that you have some parent token, right? And you have contracts which is allowing you to issue well new token, right? Some certificate issued, right? Well, in that sense, it's parent contributes that's right, and by using that, so you can different tokens you may issue under some parent token, right? You can certify basically, and that certification can be later used in smart contracts chain cash example. So what I'm thinking about is to have a reserve contract which is issuing which is having reserve token, right? And those reserve tokens can be put on issuing node token to some received source, right? With and by so it possible to do contract-based certification that's token was actually issued by calling of contract, right? And it seems the similar design pattern can be in other in other use cases as well.
Well, Krishti, I got a hard stop. I got to run across campus to another meeting. So this seems like a good place to end it.
All right, and already. So do we have any question from previous MA? Because we promised to answer me and Joe.
Oh, what were the previous questions?
Do you have any maybe any sign about?
I don't see any. No, I don't see anything commenting about last week.
All right, so folks, well, if you want questions from last week, answer or answer. So send us next week.
Did you guys chat too long last week and forgot to answer questions, Krishti? Is that what happened?
There are a lot of questions, so yeah, we did answer all of them. So yeah, we suggested folks to resubmit, and yeah, well, folks, so you can resubmit them next week then. So answer.
Nice.
Well, there is nothing to hide, so every question will be answered. We just right, but the time is the most.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, let's wrap up with this.
All right.
So
we'll see you around the ecosystem.
Yeah. Let's continue our text chat. Well,
sounds good. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Bye, everyone.